AgRobotics Working Group meeting. Thanks for attending. We do have a presenter today, but before we get started, I will ask any new members to introduce themselves to the group, your interest and participation, and maybe your key areas of focus with respect to AgRobotics or AI in agriculture. And since I didn't see the other folks from Thunder Bay, I'll ask Claude, would you like to go and introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. I'm Claude Mindorf. I'm the Director of Development for Pace Canada Developments LP. We're a solar developer in Alberta. Long-time farmer, irrigator, cow-calf operation background. I've since retired from farming. Last year was one of the founding members of the AgRobotics Canada group. So I'm actually the board secretary. This is a little early for me. It's 7 a.m. here in Alberta, but that's okay. I usually get distracted and don't attend these, so I've really been enjoying your updates. I love the way you formatted your feedback on your sheets, upcoming financing opportunities. I'm often passing that information on to other members of AgRobotics Canada or to colonies or unfortunately, we don't have much of an effort around AgRobotics or agrivoltaics in Western Canada, but we're pushing hard here. We're forming a caucus this year. My key focus, I'll state it right away, is that we are, last year we participated in an energy innovation show sponsored by Red Deer Polytechnic. We did a stream on agrivoltaics. What I would like to try and arrange is sort of a collaboration from this group to Alberta to try and get the message out of low emissions vehicles, use of robotics in farming. A lot of innovation in Alberta. I'm sure there's people already doing some of this. Paramount is a big equipment supplier, but I'd like to try and attract as many members from your group to the Polytechnic show this year and have sort of a display outside that we could set up in the parking lot. We had a lot of EVs last year, hydrogen-powered vehicle, but they weren't related to agriculture. And so my goal is to try and have what you have there. My ultimate goal with Pace Canada is we're practitioners of agrivoltaics. So we have a agrivoltaics farm plan for every one of our 20 sites, and our first 4 sites went into solar production this year. Ultimately, we want to be producing on-site farm hydrogen, working with University of Western University on developing technologies, remote sensing technologies that are low cost. We just finished building a prototype open source weather station, which we put at Western University. We have our first copy of that going into our first solar farm to measure against our $25,000 commercialized weather station. Our goal is ultimately to have autonomous soil sensors for under $100. That's our target for this year. Just doing a bunch of things, basically getting the data to show that we can grow more biomass or do a better job on feed to meat conversion ratios with solar farms, animals grazing, alternative cropping between the rows, actually leaving the land in production. And our targets are to increase soil health, biomass, biodiversity. And to do that, we've hired an ex-Canadian Wildlife Services director named Rhonda Milliken, who I know from the wind industry. So that's a background on our company. We have 3 operating solar farms. Each one of them has a solar farm plan, which practices agrivoltaics. And as a developer, I want to be able to bring in equipment that is more suited to working on 30 to 40 to 50 foot row spacing. And a lot of the autonomous units are low enough that they can be underneath the solar if you make provision for them. So really, it's adapting what other people are doing in the rest of Canada, North America, Europe. One of these days, I need to get to one of those massive trade shows they have in Europe where 243,000 people attend. We're still talking 200 here.
Yeah.
But we need it. I mean, diesel pricing out here is, even with the fuel tax, is doubled for the farmers in the last 5 years. We're looking at an extension of Dr. Pierce is looking at the next step to hydrogen production on site. And I'm talking small scale, like 5 kilowatt electrolyzers, not 5-ton electrolyzers. So something the farmer can actually use for fuel blending with the new tractors that blend biodiesel with hydrogen, or straight hydrogen tractors or powered units, because
it's very cool.
batteries aren't going to cut it for us. So we need to be looking at
alternatives. Yeah, there's a huge potential with all of this interconnectedness with AgRobotics. Oh, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
there's
I mean,
a ton of opportunity, but maybe in the future we could have you give a presentation to a group on everything your company is doing, and then some of the members of the working group can see the connections that they can make through the work that you're doing. That would be great.
Like I've been in discussion with, the only robotics person specifically I've been speaking to, other than Dr. Pierce, who's doing research on fruit recognition and picking systems and so on and so forth, but was Haggerty Robotics. I met them,
and he's the co-chair of the working group. We started together, actually. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we could have a chat offline. I can give you a little bit more background on where we're at and what we're all doing within the group. So, okay, sounds good. Thanks for joining. Okay, I did see Sylvain, I think, from College Borel. If you would just like to turn on your camera and introduce yourself to the group.
Hi, my name is Sylviane Beaulieu. I'm the coordinator for ag research projects here at Collège Boréal. I'm also a teacher and a dairy farmer. So I wear many hats, and I'm sorry, I'll be turning my camera back off. I'm on 2 meetings at the same time this morning, so I'm trying to do both.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else that I missed? Any other new members before we get started with our presentation? Okay. Aaron, do you see our presenter?
I thought I saw him come in earlier. Double checking.
We are having a presentation today on Zone AgTech, which is in Quebec.
I don't see him in the meeting now, though, so let me know.
I did just check my email and I don't see any messages. So, okay, well, could you maybe try and contact him and see if there's an issue?
I'll check right quick.
All right. All right.
I saw Izmir is on. Maybe she knows where he is. They work at the same place.
Yeah.
I don't know if she
She's writing him now. Yeah. Thanks, Peter. Okay, while we're waiting, let's just kind of move through the rest of the agenda and we'll circle back. Okay, so yeah, I just have, our list of conferences and everything that's been going on right now. A lot of people are out in BC. I know there's a lot of interest in what's been happening here in the AgRobotics Working Group. I know that several tech companies are giving presentations there. So you can see the rest of the list. There's lots happening over the next several months. Okay, so with respect to project updates, I was wondering if everybody met the deadlines for some of those funding applications and if there's any new projects that went in. We heard about a few last week. Anybody else submit anything to the OAFRI stream or the Bioenterprise Accelerator program? Okay. So I did want to just touch on this new data subcommittee. We've had a number of emails from people with respect to wanting to participate in this subcommittee, and I just wanted to know if there was anybody else who was interested in participating in that. I do know that an application went in to CAIN, the Canadian Agricultural Automation Intelligence Network, for Hi, Janice. Okay. Aaron, we got to make sure we add Janice from OFA for that. There is an application that went in for a project spanning Canada in order to connect everybody from Emily to now our innovation farms network that's going to be still not announced yet, but it's starting to happen. You notice in the meetings here that Aaron is helping. We're transitioning right now for me to be out of the role of chairing the meetings and just become a participant. We should know shortly about how we're going to get that all set up for this year. That's all I can say for right now. Okay, so he's coming on. Okay, someone else from MAPAC. Yeah, so we're putting together this subcommittee to include also the Canadian Standards Association, because there's a lot of different things happening with some different groups, and we're trying to get everybody together. So we're, when we get to the point where we can start sharing the information and sharing the data, then all of the data, how it's entered and everything can be easily shared, just so everything's entered the same, protocols are followed the same. So it's pretty exciting because, in terms of all of this data, there's a lot of data being collected on every farm all the time, and we want to be able to use it for something because the data does mean something. And so, okay, so yeah, we have a lot of people interested in this subcommittee. So Aaron, if you could just see that in the chat, and then we can
Absolutely.
put together this subgroup.
And
Another
Oliver's
really
on the
important
chat now as well.
aspect, yeah, a lot of other really important part of this, the data side of things will be a kind of a subsidiary piece with respect to return on investment. We really want to have that as something, the economic portion for all these technologies. So that's what the committee will be working on, kind of two separate things, but really important things. Yeah. So yeah, we want to connect everybody who's been working on these different types of data projects in order to facilitate less duplication of effort, because we know there's so much going on everywhere, not in the world, on this topic. And so the more people we can connect, the faster we can get to, to adoption on the farm. Okay, so do we have our speaker now? Excellent. All right. If you want to start sharing your screen now, you can go ahead and introduce yourself to the group.
Oh, I don't think we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we can hear you.
We still can't hear you, Oliver.
His mic is open in Zoom, but we can't hear him.
No. Ismer, would you be able to turn on your mic until he gets it sorted out to, I'm sure you could give the presentation too. He's left. I think he logged off and is trying to log back in. Okay, while we're waiting, this, does anybody have any, we could just run the round table quickly while we're waiting to see if this is going to work today. Technology is great when it works. Does anybody have anything that they would like to share with the group? A quick update on a project, on something interesting you came across, or some work that you're planning for the 2024 field season that you think our group could be interested in, or you would like some support on? Well, I can tell you something interesting that I saw. Well, this AgRobotics work is, yes,
Yes.
yes. All right. There we
Yes, we got it.
go.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for your patience. I'm truly apologize for these two little quirks this morning. Wrong little link, apparently, and then mic issues, but we're back on track. Would you like me to
Thank
go
you.
right away?
Yes, go ahead. Thanks
All
very
right.
much.
How much time do I have? I'll tailor to that.
Oh, you have half an hour still.
I still have half an hour. All right.
Yes, go ahead. We kind of jumped around the agenda today while we're waiting.
All right, great. So
Perfect.
I'll start right away. Can anyone tell me if you see my screen already? Yeah, we're good? All
Very
right.
good.
So thank you for having me. I'm Olivier Demers-Dubé. I'm the Director of Innovation Programs at Zone AgTech, which is Quebec's first hub in agricultural technology. I hope everyone's French is not too rusty this morning. I will do the presentation in English, but the slides will be in French. So at any time, if you have any, I'll translate them as we go. But if at any time you have questions, please do not hesitate to pop on screen, open your mic, and share them. We'll do this radio style because I'm not sure I'll see all the comments in the chat as we go. All right, so I'll take a couple of minutes to talk about Zone AgTech, what we've been doing over the course of the past 4 years, and the projects that some of the main projects that we have that we're spearheading right now and or partners on. So to start with this, our main partners at Zone AgTech, we've had quite an interesting community. We are geographically located just outside of Montreal, so east of the islands, basically the first borough there, which is called the MRC of L'Assomption. And we are partly funded by the MRC in order to do some land development and attract ag tech companies on that piece of land. But we are the representatives of the ag tech community of Quebec. Therefore, we are more provincially based than based in a borough, even though physically we are geographically located in this L'Assomption borough. So we are supported by the different branches of government. We have been supported since our inception by Sobeys to do some market study and acumen. I'll come back to that. By Arnois Industry, which is one of the largest greenhouse manufacturers in North America. University Laval, that trains about 85% of the agronomists of the province, is one of our main university research partners. The Réseau des CCTT, so CCTTs are basically technological research centers that are affiliated with education structure that is unique to the province, which are called CEGEPs, which is basically in between high school and university. So they specialize in applied research versus what university are a little bit more sometimes fundamental. So where universities will be in between TRL 1 and let's say 4, CCTTs will do research of TRLs between 3 and 9, for those of you familiar with that scale. And we've partnered up with a lot of producers associations. And for those of you who know Izmir, who is here with us today, Zone AgTech with 5 Growers Association have co-founded the Innovation AgTech Network. that comprises strawberries, raspberries, greenhouse growers, apple growers, and pomme de terre. I don't remember how to translate that. Potatoes, thank you. Thank you. Growers, in order to create a network that will have its number of projects in the upcoming months. I'll come back to that. So the Zone AgTech, in its physical essence, is close to $500 million in private investment in order to develop 3 million square feet piece of land. That is, one portion is in the city of Repentigny and one portion is in the city of L'Assomption, which are neighbors to each other, and the whole Zone AgTech is comprised in between those two sites. So our mission is really to federate, develop, and expand the potential of the agtech businesses of Quebec mainly. And the priority sectors in which we have chosen to involve ourselves is really all adaptation to climate change, workforce challenges, supply chain management, and self-sufficiency in terms of food production. So the goal that we have set for ourselves is to have 150 agtech businesses within 5 years in the Zone AgTech. Right now, we're about at 40 that are being implemented as we speak. So buildings are being built right now. There's about 40 businesses that are currently in implementation. So we put a couple of things together, what we consider pillars, in order to not only attract agtech, but also ensure a little bit of their success. And these are the 6 main pillars that we've put together. So number 1 is really access to knowledge and talent. So what we mean by access to knowledge and talent is basically having not only an understanding, but also a fast track access to what are the main researchers and research facility in the province. So we've federated a good bunch. As I was saying a little bit earlier, University Laval is our main university in terms of namely agronomy, and they've also started integrating a lot of AI in their agronomy programs. But also we work with all universities in the province for their specialty. So, for instance, Université du Québec à Trois-Rivières is really has a great expertise in energy management. We have ETS also, which is an engineering school who specializes in energy models for indoor farming and also in new materials for greenhouses. So University of Sherbrooke that specializes in vehicles as well. So on different projects, we partner up with universities in accordance with the expertise that are there. We do have projects with all of those. We've also partnered up with Synchronex, which, as I was saying a little bit earlier, represents 59 research centers. And what we've tried to do over the course of the past years, not only have direct partnerships with them, but also have all these organizations have a physical representative in the Zone AgTech so that the companies that are there have a daily access to the representative in order to really fast track any kind of any kind of projects that they could have. So that helps us. The third point there, soutien au déploiement des projets RSNDE. We're really there to help our companies identify their problems or their innovations and put together research questions, bring them to either universities or CCTTs, work on the financing of that project, and also help along the way with industry partnerships when they're needed, and commercializations of those solutions once the research programs are to their fruition. The second pillar that we've put together is adapted space for those companies, because not all companies have the same needs. Some companies will only need desks to work from their laptop. Other will need some laboratories, dry or humid. Some will need commercial space, some will need industrial space, some will need farmland for depending on what they're doing. So we really put all that together for them. So right now we have about 3 million square feet of industrial space. We have quite a bit of commercial space also that is readily available to them. And on the Zone AgTech side, we have about 15 square kilometers of farmland that so relationships has been created over time with the farmers that are within the Zone AgTech in order for them to either be what we call primo-adoptants, so like first users of technologies, which is often a challenge to find growers that are ready to take the risk of implementing new technologies, or in some cases even sell their land to large-scale greenhouse projects, for instance. So we have quite a bit of those. We've also got right now in Zone AgTech co-working spaces. We host about week in, week out, about 10 companies right now, with quite a bit more coming in our new infrastructures. And our new infrastructures also will encompass directly, we'll have directly on site laboratories, not only through our partners, but through our own Zone AgTech owned facilities. So that's going to be the new thing coming up for us in between 2024 and 2026, as our buildings are being built, is that right now we're working a lot through partnerships. And as we move on, we'll have our own local infrastructures that will be readily available for our companies. Number 3 is acceleration and incubation programs that have proved very efficient in attracting and propulsing companies. So 4 years ago, we built our first acceleration program in partnership with Momentum Cycle, which specializes in clean tech. So we're spearheading with them the AgTech component of that. And in the past 4 years, we've helped about, the last count is 154 AgTech companies in those programs scale their value proposition and their technology in order for it to reach to market. So that specific pillar that we have encompasses a lot of business coaches. So we have about a bank of 50 business coaches that are experienced business people that help our companies on a daily basis. And it's really on top of the program. So it's one-on-one matching on top of the 3 to 4 months programs that we've in which those companies go through. Number 4, the pillar is really financing. So as I think you all know, the financing of AgTech has proven to be quite a bit of a quirk. It's very capital intensive. There's not a lot of public financing for it, depending on the stage of development. AgTech also tends to be costly in terms of acquisition for growers compared to other existing solutions. So the financing portion of those companies has proven to be one of the very important things to work on. So a couple of things we did to try and solve this as much as we could. So first and foremost, we've put a 250K package together for the companies that are physically on our territory in l'Assomption. So that helps the company commercialize their project. The other thing that we did is we've gathered about 25 financial partners that have different shapes. Some are VC, some are institutional funds, some are private investors. And what we do with our companies is, instead of them having to go door to door to see what investors would want to put money in their companies, is we retrofitted that, and we create tables of investors that for companies. So instead of doing 15 different pitches, we kind of pre-qualify your companies for our investors, and we pre-qualify our investors for a company. And then we create those moments where the company itself can pitch in front of 10 different investors at the same time. And then the advantage of that is that they can now talk amongst each other to see who's going to take which part of financing with what kind of condition. And it really accelerates the financing process for agtech companies in the zone. Also, since it's an initiative that's supported by the Innovation Zone program of the government of Quebec, we do have kind of like backdoor entry to Investissement Québec and Montreal International. So those are entities that will fund agtech companies. There's usually like a pretty dense process to go through that, but we have people that are working directly in Zone AgTech in order to really accelerate that process, and you can have meetings with these people, and you can have LOIs within a month or two if your business is ready for it. So that's right now is working quite well. And obviously, over the course of the past 4 years, we've created databases of agtech, clean tech, AI programs that pop up either from the federal government, our local government, or the provincial government, and we are always there to build those financial montages for the companies. The fifth pillar is really the network and the market. So what we've seen from our companies that are developing those solutions is that since there's kind of like a change in terms of the expertises that are required to build those agtechs compared to conventional technologies, since we have a lot of data science now, since we have a lot of AI, since we have a lot of people that are from these sectors and a little bit less from the farming portion of the technology, having access to growers and network very early on for them in order to challenge their idea and to make sure it's as market ready as possible. That network is really important. So we've created a partnership with, as I was saying, 5 association of growers that are really proficient in identifying the growers or the key opinion leaders that are ready to try these technologies, and we mix and match every week companies and growers. So that's really a key. And we've also created international opportunities for our companies, either if the Quebec market or the Canadian market is not the market for their technology, or as we're seeing more and more, when you develop an agtech, it's often hard to capitalize on just the national market, either Quebec or Canada. So you do need to go out internationally to seek those other opportunities, and that's what we want for companies. So the 5 international corridors that we've created so far there's 1, 2 in the States, depending on how you count them. So California obviously is a big one, and also in Missouri, so center of the states. And we've also have great links with France, Netherlands, and Morocco at the moment. So we do have international missions where we bring our companies there, and we have a whole package service for them to land in these trade shows with like a double promotion. Zone AgTech's promoting our companies and and the companies promoting themselves in these trade show as well. Last but not least, we have the AgTech community. So we've right now we have about a 250 membership and partners. That is the largest AgTech community in the Quebec, and it's really there's a lot happening there's a lot happening in that community right now. All right, so take a quick sip of water. So obviously, when you talk about AgTech, there's a lot of things that we could be doing, but we've decided to work on 3 specific verticals. So we've decided to work on controlled environment agriculture, precision ag, and automation, and plant-based bioproducts and emerging protein. So I probably don't have time to go through all these projects today, but I've highlighted a couple for the presentation today, just to give you a sense of what we've been working on. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So a little bit earlier, I was talking about one of our partners being Sobeys. So Sobeys has starting asking itself internally a lot of question on how are we going to secure the supply chain in a climate changing world. And so with them, we're building training programs for their staff in order to understand better the reality of growers and how they can collaborate with growers to, negotiate contracts, think about how merge the reality of the producers with the reality of the retail world, and really working also on technical aspects of the transport and of storage. And also, one of the big things that has been important for Sobeys so far is the diversification of the produce, mainly because in controlled environment right now, we are seeing that there's a lot of focus on, the main cultures that are either cucumber, peppers, tomatoes, lettuce. So mainly across Canada, we're really strong in those 4. But as we move forward and as controlled environment continues to surge as it is right now, there's a need for diversification. So in partnership with Sobeys, with Université Laval, we are working on identifying which should be the cultures that we would encourage controlled environment companies to try out and to have a market for, and also research programs adapted to develop and make sure that those cultures are also economically productive and viable. So that's one of the things that we're working on in terms of corporate innovation. Another little project that I wanted to touch on, because I thought it was quite interesting to see how agriculture is also being utilized in other markets. So the MRNF is the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry here in Quebec, and they're having the same challenges as we're having in agriculture. Mainly the workforce is not as present, it's getting older, and it's tough work, and also there's climate change. So they're in the forestry sector, they're looking at the same kinds of technology that we're trying to implement in, let's say, controlled environment. So we did a 1.5 year long mandate for them in order to identify which technologies would best help their processes, and we came up with a bank of about 880 technology that their teams are now kind of working with and prioritizing. And the next step of that collaboration is starting in about 2 months, and it's going to be implementing their selection of technologies in their forestry. their forestry planning. So to see that there's a strong bridge in between agriculture and forestry was really interesting for us. And it's also a great opportunity for our companies to expand their markets, because forestry is also going indoors. It's going greenhouses. They're also doing germination in controlled vertical environments. So all the lighting, all the controlled environment, all the CO2, all the name it. It's going to be we're going to be able to use it in forestry as well. So that's kind of like great opportunities. The third one in control environment is a project that we're building right now. It should be, to my knowledge, the first net zero greenhouse. We're building it on a rooftop in this year in Zone AgTech. I'm sorry. And last but not least, just to show how sometimes we collaborate with industry and research centers, with partners at UQTR, they've studied the effect of far red on pepper production. So Zone AgTech's role in there is basically what happened. A researcher at UQTR came to see us saying, well, I'd like to work on this. I've done my literature review. I think there's a great question to ask and some potential very interesting answers on fruit productivity if we up by about 5%, 5 to 10% the far red. Who could work with that? Who could work on that with us? So basically what we did is that we went into our network, we found another researcher, a partner, the industry partners that were there. So Solum, the lighting companies, was very happy to onboard that project, the grower. So we created the team, we helped manage the team also during the course of that project. And we're also participating right now in knowledge transfer solutions. So from the research questions and answers, how do we bring those to not only the researchers and the students, but also to the agronomists and the greenhouse growers association, so that the output of the research project doesn't stay in just academic circles, but is really, really used by everyone in the ecosystem.
We got about 6 minutes.
We got about 6 minutes left. All right.
I see we're
Thank
only
you.
halfway through, so I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, perfect. I think this is the most important part, but I will do speed up. Thank you, Kristen. Oh. Oops. All right. So in terms of the companies that we're bringing into Zone AgTech, there's quite a bit in terms of vertical farming. So we have companies with producing lettuce, producing berries, producing mushrooms that are currently under construction right now. We have quite a bit of partners in terms of lighting. One that I wanted to talk about, because we're really excited by these types of technology, is water-cooled lighting for controlled environments. We really see it as a very important door in order to optimize indoor growing, but also make it energy efficient by either heating or cooling other buildings of our complex with that process. We do have a very successful business case in Quebec right now that's called Ferme d'Hiver, that has started using that technology, and now we're trying to integrate it into our growing complex. In terms of precision ag and automation, the project I'd like to touch a little bit upon is this strategy to accelerate the adoption of agtech for the farmers. So it's not a done deal yet, but if everything goes according to plan, and knock on wood, we spent the past 6 to 8 months building this strategy with the growers associations. And the strategy is basically to create a protocol that will evaluate the performance and relevancy of different technologies for different types of growers, and have field tests that are spearheaded by the grower, the company, and the researchers, in order to really create kind of like a duplicable baseline of data for the growers, so that after that strategy, that is a 3-year strategy, we'll have a protocol that will be able to apply to all the companies that we're going to help go to market, and use that as a frame of reference to tell them basically, well, if you want to speak to growers, if you want to make sure that your technology is relevant to growers, here are the metrics that you have to present to them, or the metrics on which you have to be efficient in terms of like harvesting speed, or harvesting quality, or autonomy in the field, or the types of field that you need to be able to go in different types of conditions. So we've worked really hard on that. We're hoping to have a positive answer by in the next couple of months. But if that goes forward, that would effectively mean that we would bring about 50 companies from Quebec, from Canada, and from internationally here locally, to help them develop technologies and then implement them in the field over the course of the next 3 years. Considering I don't have a lot of time left, I will speed up a little bit. This is just a little mapping of our ecosystem, and really summarizes what we've been doing so far. So we really see ourselves in terms of a day-to-day service as a hyperactive synapse. So we're consistently on listening to our partners, be them companies, be them research centers, and we help them identify their next projects, and we mix and match them with the whole industry. And I think we've proven quite efficient in that. Also, one of the things to know about Zone AgTech is, like, all our board of directors are entrepreneurs, or were entrepreneurs in the agtech sector for more than a decade for myself, and pretty much the same, if not more, for the rest of our team. So we do know and we do understand what it means to run a business, and the constraints, the challenges that come with that. So we've grown quite efficient in spearheading those. I'll probably finish with this part. We're also very active on events. So we've realized over the course of the past almost half decade now that physical events where people can meet, mix and match are really important in the ag world. And we've tried to create those around themes that speak and that are relevant for the network. So if we look at the event portion here, actually in 2 weeks' time, on February the 6th, we have the 4th edition of our Grand Colloque. And that colloque is really a way that we have a full day of panels on the different key themes of the agtech sector as we see them for Quebec and for Canada and internationally as well. And we also have kind of not sub-event, but more like specific events on what does the greenhouse of the future look like? What does the orchard of the future look like? Where we gather, once again, growers, research centers, and also technology developers to really kind of brew conversation and projects around those different topics. We have more than 200 participants for each of these events, and they've really proven to be quite efficient in creating projects so far. So I think I'll stop here for now. All this I've pretty much said so far, and I'll finish with the slide of the upcoming events if ever you want to screenshot that. But the next big one, if ever there's still a little place, some places on February the 6th for a Grand Colloque if you want to swing by, come and say hi, and have a chat to talk projects.
Well, thank you very much. And first off, I would like to say congratulations. You've created quite the ecosystem there in just a few short years. And I guess I'm probably going to monopolize the questions, but I'll take one, do one first, and then I'll let others go. But I was just wondering if there is like a timeline in terms of how much funding you have. Like, is it a 10-year commitment? And then what sort of milestones or performance measures that you have to meet in order to continue on this process? And I guess my second question is, how many growers actually belong or are part of your ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the answer to the first one is we were fortunate enough to get funding from the municipal level in order to launch our activities. At this moment, so we started by being kind of under their umbrella, even as an organization. That had an expiration date. So after the second year of operation, we became an independent structure. That was then funded about 40% by public money and 60% by private mandates. So I didn't touch on this a lot, but all the company training and corporate innovation mandates that we do, they are private mandates. So we do have some revenue that is about 60% of our operating budget right now. And with our future activities, and as we move on, within about 3 years, we're going to be fully independent and privately funded. And we will remain the organization that kind of is the heart of the physical agtech ecosystem, kind of like operating it at a high level, even though it's going to be privately owned by the different companies. Sorry, and in terms of the growers, if I'm not mistaken, the 5 growers associations that we partnered with represent over, I'm going to say between 2,000 and 3,000 growers, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not. It could be a little bit more than that. And on a very territorial level, so where the Zone AgTech is, that's about another 2,000 as well that have been pre-mobilized for this.
That's excellent. Do you have any growers on your board, or are they all just the companies, entrepreneurs from the companies?
Yes, very good question. So our board is has different kind of expertise. We have deans from universities, we have clean tech investors, but we have growers.
Excellent.
We have the representative of the local growers association. Yep.
You're building something really, really special there. Again, I want to say congratulations and thank you for, back and forth that we've had with our working group and whatnot, and in terms of what we're trying to accomplish here in Ontario. We really appreciate it. We appreciate it. Are there any other questions from the working group members? There has to be at least one. Please don't be quiet today.
I don't really have a question. Just thank you for the presentation, Olivier. I'm part of your cohort this year, so we've met before already. So good presentation. Thank you. I learned a lot of things about Zone AgTech that I didn't know before. So that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We're trying to. Yeah, well, thank you for being part of the core, actually.
Well, I have a whole list of questions if others are going to put up their hands, just so some things I think that others would like to know about. And in terms of the cohorts, I was just wondering, are they only Quebec companies, or do you take companies from outside of Quebec ever? Because we here at our working group, we have lots of companies from abroad that come and like talk with us and whatnot, and that are interested in the Canadian market. So I was just wondering how you facilitate that process, or if you even do, or you just focus on companies primarily from Quebec.
if there's one limitation in those programs is that they're typically partially or entirely partially funded by the Quebec government. And sometimes those criterias, in their criteria bank, is that the, let's say for environmental impact, it needs to be measurable impact on Quebec soil. So the company needs to have some kind of presence. But if we find a solution to finance those programs, either incubation or acceleration through other means where we're not kind of held back by that, then yeah, of course we will. We're trying as much as possible to incorporate either Canadian or international companies. Sometimes we do negotiate with the government so that they send funding that we can then redistribute to companies that are outside of Quebec. In the acceleration process, that's a harder battle sometimes to win. But yeah, as much as possible.
Yeah, because it's similar here. It is very similar here in Ontario. Like a lot of our programs are for Ontario based, Ontario funded, but there is opportunities if you link those companies with Ontario growers, for example, that there can be some opportunities for work to happen.
I think you'd have to mention that the program is in French, so that might be a barrier for for other Canadian businesses. Yeah,
that's true. The program is in French. However, most of us are bilingual, so that would be we try to make, but yeah, the program's in French. That's true.
Okay. Well, anyone else? Well, I'm very impressed with how far you've come in 2 years. That is for sure, and very interested to see.
18 months since we spoke last.
Yes. Just really great. Really, like I said, congratulations. Because you're where we wanna go to. So I hope that we can continue to collaborate on different things and initiatives, and we'd love to have updates from your group, maybe biannually, just to see if that's possible. And I think there's going to be some changes here in Ontario where, maybe we'll be calling on you to learn a little bit more from your experience and how, you set up your ecosystem as well as your vertices, like how you chose in terms of your strategic plan, which key focus areas you're focusing on. So no, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And I'll make one last call for any other questions.
Well, I mean, in the meantime, if I can say thank you for inviting us. First and foremost, we're always happy to share. I think over the course of the past years, we've been really efficient at what we do because we're a very lean team and we've identified the verticals in which we want to have impact. And we are happy to collaborate and help with other Canadian organizations that want to develop, like complementary agtech hubs, for sure.
Well, thanks again. Really nice to see you, and again, I know I've said it like 3 times, but congratulations. I'm a little bit jealous, but yeah, that's great. Really great.
No, thanks for your time, everyone. And if we can help, if we can collaborate in the group, we'll be more than happy to do so.
Okay, we'll be reaching out. Excellent.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
We are at time, everyone. So I'll give out one last call for roundtable. Any other information anyone would like to share with the group? Okay, well, I did see something very interesting, and I would like to talk a little bit quickly about it. That Bill Gates puts out a blog. I'm not sure if many people are aware of this. His last blog post was about robotics and AI, and he specifically mentioned agricultural robotics, and he specifically mentioned a company that just came this past week to Ontario, Tevel Technologies, with their flying autonomous robots. They came to meet up with some apple growers here on Tuesday, I believe, and are considering coming to Ontario with their apple harvesting flying aerial robots. So I thought that was very cool that Bill Gates is mentioning that company that we're hoping to work with for the 2024 harvest in apples. So apples and possibly tender fruit. So that was very cool. Okay, that's all I have for today. So wish everyone a great weekend, and hopefully this soggy weather leaves us soon. Okay, take care. Bye.
Thank you, Kristen. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Ismail.